Hey there, guys. I was asked about a upper body, lower body split and just a very simple variation of it. Now, simple programs can be really effective, so yeah, have no problems putting it together. If I was to do a upper body, lower body split and just literally keeping it to bare bones, no extra junk whatsoever, three movements I'd put for the upper body would be the bench press, because it hits obviously pecs, shoulders, triceps. To a degree, you're going to hit your back if you're setting up correctly, pulling your scapula back and sort of just bracing in general. Forearms, a little bit, because you have to hold the bar, or you should actively be trying to crush the bar in your hands. Then the next one would be the shoulder press, more specifically the one arm overhead press. Again, hits the delts really quite well, and it hits all three heads of the deltoids. So you get a lot of balance in your shoulder. Also works really well for protecting against, shoulder injuries. And I like the fact that it's a fair bit of lateral flexion as opposed to spinal extension. So your core gets worked, but it's not taxing on the lower back at all. Even though it might look hard on the lower back, it's actually quite hard on the obliques because they got to stabilize, and you get a whole lot of stabilization going in your mid and upper back, which is just going to help you, control your scapula, which is in turn going to help, save your shoulder. And I like that, the triceps in this get heavily worked, so it's sort of an equal mix between shoulders and triceps with a little bit of core thrown in there. So yeah, definitely a win in that regard. And then after the overhead press, just keeping it to three simple exercises, I would then go with pull-ups. Now, some people might prefer the chin-ups. I prefer pull-ups because I can really work my lats and my back really quite effectively, as opposed to, say, a barbell row. The pull-ups, there's no load going through the lower back. To an extent, if you're doing the dead hangs as well with the pull-ups, you get a little bit of spinal decompression, which can also feel really nice after a heavy squat day. You feel those good little clicks and you just feel like you're moving better. So definitely the pull-ups. Now, if you wanted to opt for chin-ups, you could as well. Chin-ups are going to hit a little bit more biceps. I personally struggle with the mobility in the wrists. Then for lower body, look, I'd start with squats. Now, squats can be different for, person to person. If you're competing in powerlifting, you probably want to lean more towards the traditional barbell squat, because you're going to need it in competition. Definitely hits the lower back as well, and that's something that a lot of lifters need to be mindful of, and it just sort of jacks up the total fatigue in the body. I don't have anything against squats. I think they're a great exercise. I just think a lot of people need to do them correctly. I like doing some of the paused work as well. That way the total load I have to put on the bar is a lot less. I still get a lot of time under tension, and I get to work on a lot of weak spots. Other people prefer front squats. I used to do them quite a lot. I found they hit my core really quite well, and it teaches you to drop your hips right down below you. And that carries over to the traditional squat. Now, traditional squat I found was pretty much an even mix of everything, as well as just being very tiring in general. Front squats, I found that they definitely hit my quads. I could really feel my core engage incredibly hard, because I just had to stay more upright. And then that carried across to my traditional squat. So, a variation, or, you might decide to do, 2 sets of traditional squats and then move on to front squats and hit 2 sets of that. The other variation that I really quite like when it comes to squats is the belt squat. So, you can load that one up. I've included that towards the end of the video, especially if you have lower back injuries and things like that, because the weight is sitting then on your hips as opposed to running, down through your lower back. It's not taxing on the lower back, and you don't have to worry too much about then your hips tucking under more than usual, simply because you're not loading your lower back. Everything's sort of sitting on the hips, so you get a little bit more range of motion without even trying to do that. and I found that the belt squat, in terms of total leg development, I found that a lot more. Really hit the quads, hit the glutes, and hit the hamstrings. Hamstrings and glutes I never found I hit too much with squats in general. Didn't matter if it was traditional, front squats, box squats, whatever it was. It just didn't work. For me, that is. For other people, it's a different story. But for me, the belt squat, I could get a really even mix of everything without feeling like my lower back or back in general was gassing out and wanting to die. So yeah, I would pick, long story short, in terms of a split program, a variation of squat, and you can just rotate it through if you want as well. 1 week you might do traditional, the week after you might do front squats, and the week after belt squat. Or you could do 2 sets of each. It's really up to you. To then finish off legs quite thoroughly, let's just say we picked a squat variation. Another exercise I would then do would be leg extensions, as well as leg curls, because leg curls, you're really isolating the hamstrings that way, and you can work on your weak links. So, 3 exercises for upper body, 3 exercises for lower body. You could run that as a, upper body Monday, Tuesday lower body, Wednesday rest, Thursday upper body lighter, Friday, lower body again. And, just play around with the different intensities. General rule for the above, if you're only picking 3 exercises, by all means go for 4 sets of, 10 reps. Shoulders you might want to push a little bit higher because they're going to be fatigued from the bench press. Pull-ups, use the assisted chins if you need to, and even chasing reps, 15, 20 is really going to light up the back and work really quite well. With squats, if it's traditional barbell squats, I actually prefer 2 sets of 5, just because I can hold my form really quite well. And then with front squats, in the videos I was going heavier than usual. But, again, chasing that 10 rep mark on front squats and pausing at the base really lights up the quads and core incredibly well. So I really enjoy that. The other one that, comes to mind with a belt squat, you can play around very differently on this exercise because your lower back's not going to be a limiting factor, so you're not worried about getting injured. For this one, I just do one very long set, which is, I'll do 10 reps, wait 30 seconds, and have the weight still running through my feet. I haven't put the stopper down to take the tension off, and after the 30 seconds I do another 10 reps, and I do that until I hit 50 total reps. I can really work my legs to pretty much failure in that regard. So yeah, I just do one set of that and I'm pretty cooked. The leg extensions, 4 sets of 10 to 15, whatever you want, and same with the leg curls. Now, when it comes to squatting, again, if you wanted to start off doing the leg extensions first as a pre-exhaust method, so the total weight that you're then lifting on the squats is a lot less, just saves on the lower back and really allows you to, fatigue the legs out squatting as opposed to fatiguing your back and core out. That's also another viable option. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. Happy to put more splits up, have no problems with that whatsoever. And any other video topics you guys wanted covered, happy to touch on that as well. So yeah, hit like and subscribe and have a great day wherever you are.